Right fellas, welcome back to a brand new video with my F-Reg 2-wheel drive Sapphire Cosworth. I picked the car up from Scotland and it is not the best example of a Sierra Cosworth. It hasn't been on the road since 2014. Once I got the car home, I'd give it a clean. Once it was clean, I then discovered the brakes weren't working, so that turned into a bit of a saga. I managed to fix the brakes by fixing an electric motor. That was the root of the problem. I've only bloody fixed them, fellas. Since then, we've just been trying to make it a bit more of a nice Cosworth. On my last couple of videos, I decided to strip and clean the full fuel system of the car. While the fuel tank and the fuel pump cradle was off, I thought I might as well clean up the boot floor where it all sits. So I ground all the old undersail off and found a hole. So I got out the hot glue gun, fixed that, and for one of my first attempts, it was pretty good. I was quite pleased with myself. Once it was all welded up, I primed it, painted it, wrapped and sealed it, got the underside looking mint. So now it's just a case of building it back up. So now the car is painted, it's now a case of building it back up and putting some parts on. This is a brand new fuel tank from Sierra Cosworth. I'll leave their contact information below. We've got some new seals though for the tank. We also have a hose that goes from the tank to the pump, some Jubilee clips, and we also have a brand new fuel tank strap. As you can see, this is galvanised silver, but the tank strap on my 3-door Cosworth, as you can see there, is black. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly rub this down and put it in my spray booth and paint it black. Here I'm using a medium grade sandpaper. It's not to scratch it, it's more just to key the metal so the paint sticks. So once the metal's all scratched up and ready to paint, I'm going to give it a quick clean with some Body Shop style degreaser. I'm going to paint this with this Parkside paint. I got this from Lidl. It was literally $3.50 a tin, and it's really, or it seems really good paint. So let's head to my spray booth with this and get painting. This isn't a professional grade spray booth, but it's the one that happened to come with my house, and I have done some good quality work in this booth. So the first coat is just a light dusting. We'll give that 5 minutes to dry, then we'll give it a second coat. The second coat you can go a bit heavier with. So when this car is running on 4 cylinders, it's no good me running on 3. And since I've been taking Athletic Greens AG1 nutritional drink, I've had more energy throughout the full day. AG1 is engineered to fill the nutritional gaps in your diet and promote your body's nutritional needs across 5 pillars of health. They are energy, good health, brain health, recovery and immune support. Like I said, I've been taking AG1 every morning for quite a while now, and it gives me the extra bit of boost I need throughout the full day. AG1 is an amazing way to get all those key benefits in a one serving. It's sugar, gluten, nut, egg and dairy free. It's super convenient as well. You literally take 1 scoop any time of the day that suits you. Now, while it does look scary like being green, it does actually just taste healthy. Get started with Athletic Greens AG1 now by clicking the link in the description of this video and getting yourself a year's supply of vitamin D and 5 individual travel packs free with your first purchase. Whilst we wait for that strap to dry, we're going to fix this bit here. In here there should be a vent, and there was a vent when I got the car, and I pulled it a bit, I smashed it, and I thought, well, I'll just get a new one, be simple. Turns out you can't just get a new one. So in this box, thanks to Robin, who has kindly sent me some bits before for my Sierra Cosworths, we have some hard to find vents to go here. So in the box we'll have 2 items. This is a new tone eye cover that Robin is printing for the Sierra Sapphire. Quite a hard to find part. This does look very nice. This is clear. Obviously you will paint it the colour of your car. Here we'll have the vent, what we need to go in there. That one, like that. What is cool about these, apart from being 3D printed, is you see like the little flap. It's actually made of rubber. It's like 3D printed rubber. It's quite flexible. Can you see it bending? Look. How cool is that? These are still prototypes. Robin is not currently selling them, but if you are interested, I will leave a link to his Instagram where in the future you can get your own. It's got like a nice soft rubber O-ring on there. It's like a sponge, it's not like a hard rubber, it's not like a traditional O-ring. So hopefully these should just pop straight in this hole. Now I'm sure you'll agree, that looks absolutely spot on. I've got one more to do on the other side, then we'll get on with the next job. So this rusty part here is the fuel level sender, what tells your clocks behind your steering wheel what the fuel level is in your car. They're hard to find for a Sierra and they fetch decent money, especially if you can find a new one. I couldn't find a new one, so I'm going to try and clean this one up. I did have a lad called Terry come round, nice lad, for his £30,000 laser rust removal tool, but unfortunately I wasn't quite happy with the finished result, so I ended up taking it to work, putting it in the sandblaster and removing every speck of rust. So what we're going to do now is we're going to mask it up and give it a quick coat of paint. I'm not bothered about it looking original, I just wanted to not rust, because these bits are hard to get. You can't get these fuel sender things. We'll mask it up, we'll give it a lick of paint. So here what we're doing is we're just masking up where the electrical connector connects onto the fuel level sender. I don't want any paint on that part. I'm not going to mask up the bottom of this plastic because I want the paint to get in and kind of just seal the metal. So I'm not bothered about the overspray getting on here as long as it stops the thing from rusting. Next thing to do is just give it a wipe down with some panel wipe / degreaser. Like I said earlier fellas, you must clean your metal work down before you paint it, because A, the paint won't stick, and B, you'll get reactions and it'll end up with like little holes where the paint hasn't stuck to the metal. We're going to give it a quick coat with some aluminium zinc spray, some primer, then we'll hit it with some silver paint. Once the primer's dried, I'm going to give it a coat with some Parkside silver spray paint. So when I'm finished painting this, we're going to put this to one side and move on with another part of the fuel system. Right, so when I stripped the underside of the Sapphire, I had to get this cleaned. This is the fuel pump cradle. It comes with a load of other parts to hold everything in place. We've got a load of bits here. Now honestly, I wasn't sure if this was going to come up or whether it was too far gone, too rusty, but it has came up alright. I couldn't sandblast this myself at work, so I took it to a local company, SEM Wales, and they blasted and painted up this for like 20 quid. Let's now build it up. We've got new fuel pump, new fuel filter, all to go on here. So let's build it up and get it on the car. We're going to start off by getting some rivets and a rivet gun out my toolbox. So what we need to do is rivet this small plate onto the fuel pump cradle. It's what Ford done. So we need 3 rivets. This is the first one. For some reason, some of these rivets are not getting rid of the shaft that runs through the middle of them. So hopefully a quick hammer should get them out. So this is the old fuel pump and it's held on the fuel cradle by this. This is like the little mount thing it sits on. But it sits on some little rubber bushes so it doesn't vibrate, and I don't know, it sits on like some anti-vibration rubber bits. So on eBay you can get new rubber things to stop it vibrating, and that's what is in here. So you can see there's 3 anti-vibration mounts. One goes here, one here, one here. And they're held in place by a washer and a nut on each end. Then we'll add this bracket what the fuel pump sits onto, and this is held up by them 3 anti-vibration mounts. So this is the old fuel pump. It literally takes the fuel from the fuel tank in here, pumps it out round here into the fuel filter, then away at the engine. So this is a fuel pump. This pumps, right? Now, I've got a new fuel pump. This is from Sierra's R Us, but this is slightly different. This is like an upgraded version, and this doesn't just pump, it also sucks. So this sucks the fuel from the fuel tank and then blows it out the other end. So we're going to fit this, comes with a fitting kit, so we'll build it up and put it on the fuel pump cradle. I will leave all links to the stuff I'm using in the description of this video. This kit from Sierra's R Us comes with everything you need to upgrade the standard fuel pump on a Cosworth. So this is a copper crush washer, and what it does is it crushes between the steel and seals any gaps so the fuel can't leak out. Then it's just a case of putting a spanner on each end and nipping it up. I am going to mask the inlet and the outlet up on the fuel pump just to save any little bits of grit and dirt getting in. Now the fuel pump cradle is built up. We need to fit the fuel pump, and something Ford done from standard was wrap the pump in like a bit of rubber matting. It's so it fits in the fuel pump cradle. If I put this fuel pump in as it is and put the bracket on, you can see it rattles. It's not secure like when that's bolted down. Even if I put the original one in and put the clamp over, that still rattles. So, like I say, from factory, Ford wrapped these in some rubber matting. You can see there where the old matting was. So here we have some new matting. So we'll cut a strip off and we'll wrap this pump. Right, so we'll wrap this around the pump. It's just slightly overlapping there, so we'll just score that. And we'll chop that off. Right, so we'll wrap the matting around the pump like that. And that goes there. So I'm just going to run this tap down the hole just so it all goes together nice and the bolt goes in the threads nice. So this is an M6 tap. Then this should click into there and that drops down over there. Then that should hold that nicely. So we'll get a screw to go in here. Now that fuel pump is nice and secure in the fuel cradle. So next we'll have a brand new fuel filter to go in with the fuel pump. The fuel filter does not require the rubber matting. It's just literally one bolt to nip it up and keep it in place. So next we're going to fit this pipe onto the end of the fuel filter. But to fit it, you need to put some of these copper washers on. These are they're like a crush washer, and this will stop the fuel from leaking out. So take that off, put a washer on, put the pipe on, put another washer on. Then this nut goes on. It's like a blind nut, so no fuel can get out. That goes on there. Now the next job is to route the fuel pipe or the fuel hose, this braided hose. We need to route this so it's not rubbing on anything, because obviously if it rubs, it could rub through and cause a leak. The way it's recommended is to come round here over the top of the fuel pump there, then bolts onto here. I'll turn it round, then it goes onto the fuel filter there. It's a special bolt. You can see it's got a through hole, then it goes into there so the fuel can pass through. Also goes on with some more copper crush washers. This is ready to bolt up to the car. I've put some rubbers on there. These kind of like sit on the boot floor to stop it rattling about. There's still 2 hoses to connect to the fuel cradle. There's a fuel in that comes from the fuel tank. It connects to this here. And then there's the fuel out, which connects to there, which goes off to the engine. So the fuel pump cradle is held in place by this bracket. This goes through the boot floor. So I'm going to pop this through, then we'll go under the car and I'll show you what we're doing next. Right, so we're down by the car. Now, see these 2 holes, right? There's a hole here and a hole here. It's held on by this rubber thing, goes through the hole there, like that. Then there's like one of these big metal washers, goes under there. It's like an anti-vibration thing. There's one each side. I've got another one here for this hole. Then it's held in place by a M8 nut, goes on the back of there. Now the next job on the list is this. This is the fuel filler neck. This is where you put your petrol nozzle to fill your tank up in there, right? That goes into the fuel tank, but it is a bit tatty and a bit rusty. Can you see here all the clips have like rusted and fell off? There should be like a clip on here. It's just a bit tatty. You see this is like a breather of some kind, and that's just snapped, like the end snapped off. This should be a bit longer. What we're going to do is we're going to strip this down and clean it up so it's good enough to go on the car. So let's start by taking off all these old knackered pipes. So you can see here how rusty the old Ford clips are. They're literally just falling apart. So this Jubilee clip is rusted on, so I'm going to hacksaw it off and try not to damage any of this plastic pipe. I can damage the rubber, that doesn't matter because it is rusted. Let's get the hacksaw on the board. So where I've just cut this bit of rubber pipe off, you can't get this pipe, and like I said, this should be longer. So on eBay I've managed to find something I'm hoping will do the job. This is a bit of silicon black reducing pipe. We're going to have to cut it about here, but hopefully this should do to replace this. Right, I've got a nice Jubilee clip to go on the end of there, like that. Then this should push onto there. Now what we need to do is I'm going to replace these lines. Like they're probably quite brittle, to be honest. Wow, they didn't snap, but they're brittle. So I've got some new plastic hose and some of this, see, like that braided stuff on the end. I've got some new stuff of that in these bags. So we'll open this and see what we've got. You see there, I've got some nice new braided line. And in here we should have some of the hard plastic pipe that I've just tried to snap. There we go. This is all available on eBay and Amazon. I will leave links to everything in the description of this video. Right, so first things first, let's remake this bit of pipe. Then we'll measure the hard plastic pipe bit, plus a little bit more. Then this should fit nicely into there, like that. Then we'll hold it in place with a double ear clamp. Then we'll just nip that, clamp it up on the pipe. Some of the pipes are a bit tight to get on, so quick squirt at WD-40 always helps. There we go, that should all go back on the tank. Now you might notice I've still got some rusty screws in there. I was debating trying to remove them, but if I knack this, they're hard to get hold of. So I kind of just left it, and hopefully it shouldn't fall to bits. It should be alright. So let's put this on the fuel tank. So here is the new fuel tank. So it's literally just a case of building it all back up, putting all these seals and that back in. So this long plastic hose goes to the filler neck. This is like a vent, and it's got like a little vent thing that goes on the end. So we'll plug this onto the end of there, like that. Then this kind of feeds round, and this vent points down at the side of the fuel tank. The pipe the little vent goes on the end of is held on with these clips, and these clip to your fuel tank. That goes onto there, then onto here, like that. Then this little vent thing goes at the end of the hose, just like that. Now the next job is to fit this. This is the fuel level sender, what comes up on your dashboard. This moves up and down as your fuel level goes up and down in your fuel tank. So to fit this, all I need to do is I need to take the tape off the top of where I painted it. And that's fitted with the new seal. The new seal came with the tank from Sierra's Arus. So we'll take this out the bag. Then this fits over there, around there, over the top of there, down to here. Then we'll just knock the fuel sender into place with an old flathead screwdriver and a big old claw hammer. Once that's done, the tank is ready to fit the car. So it's just a case of trying to slide it under the car while not scratching it, lifting it up into place with my legs and bolting it up. These two wires here, this one and this one, these go to the veg plate lights that sit in the back bumper. So I'm just going to leave these hanging down for now. This wire here is for the fuel pump, like the main fuel pump for the car. So I'll also leave that hanging down. I think I will look into it a bit because it's being patched up. So I will check it all over, make sure it's getting 12 volts to the ends here. Must get 12 volts to here, or otherwise the fuel pump won't have enough power, won't put enough fuel to the engine, it'll run lean and melt pistons. So you must get 12 volts minimum to your fuel pump. Fitting the fuel tank is a bit of a fiddly job, but how mint does a new fuel tank look on the car? Especially with the new strap, the new paint, the new painted fuel pump cradle, looks mint. There we go, it's on. One of the worst jobs for me on a Sierra is putting the fuel tank back on, especially this strap. It's always a nightmare. But thankfully the nightmare is coming to an end, especially thanks to companies like Sierra's Arus for reproducing the parts like the fuel tank. Without companies like that, I would be putting tarted up bits of junk on my car, and I'm sure you'll agree the Sierra is starting to look mint underneath, especially like I say with that new fuel tank, the new fuel pump cradle with the new fuel pump and fuel filtering. It's just starting to all come together. If you enjoyed that video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.